A Wednesday morning, I'm Collier Landry. Let's get into it.
Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in which Dr. John Boyle is accused of killing his wife, Maureen.
The boy confidently told the jury it was his decision to testify against his father.
I heard a scream, I heard a thud. It's about this loud.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I decided at an early age that our trauma should not be what defines us. It's what we choose to do with it that does. I'm here to share my unique perspective on true crime, mental health, society, and popular culture, and always with a slight sense of humor. I'm Collier Landry, and welcome to my show. Mover Nation, wherever you may be and however you may be watching or listening, thanks for making me a part of your day. Mover Nation, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? On a Sunday sessions. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all our channel members, channel supporters, Patreon supporters. Thank you all for being here. What a week. I wanted to cover this on Wednesday, but we were talking about the Sarah Boone thing. But this whole United Healthcare corporate assassination situation has kind of got me. It's disturbing, to say the least. I wanted to talk about this for the last couple of days, and I want to get into, there's been new updates. They've released some new photos. I've seen some stuff on Twitter. I don't know if you guys or X rather, of people who are advertising these masks that this assailant had used, which is basically just, it reminds me of, you guys remember that Nick Cage movie Face Off? When they do the digital faces or whatever, very similar. These masks, it's scary, and what I think is even scarier to me as someone who's a survivor of violent crime is the conjecture that is swirled around this, the sort of online venom and vitriol that has almost ignited people on both sides. And there was a great article in New York Magazine, Intelligencer, which is a segment of New York Magazine. I'm going to get into it here in a second because it popped up on my Apple News, and I started just getting engrossed in it. And this is by Sarah Jones, and this is a very interesting take. It's an opinion piece, of course. It is New York Magazine after all, but it is an interesting opinion piece, to say the least. Channel members and Patreon supporters, next Sunday, we have Collier's AV Club. We usually do it the second Sunday of every month, but since this Sunday was so short, my new series with Oxygen is coming out. It's called A Plan to Kill. The episode is Noreen Boyle. It is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to use Collier's AV Club, providing I can figure all this out, because I don't know if it streams live. I gotta figure it out. But the goal is for Collier's AV Club to have all of us be able to watch the episode on Oxygen and comment on it. If you are a channel member or you are a Patreon supporter, you have access to that. All the information and details will be in behind the members paywall there for you guys to access that. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen anything in the episode. The producer has called me a few times and messaged me and said, hey, it looks great. It's a really good episode, really strong episode. So I filmed it back in June, end of June, July, something like that. So I'm curious to see what they've come up with. It's episode 8 out of 10 for this particular series. It is from Intellectual Property Corporation, which is the same people that did Scientology and The Aftermath with Leah Remini and a bunch of other shows. So I'm excited. I know it's going to be really well done, and it airs on Oxygen, Peacock, I guess YouTube TV, wherever you get your television, your true crime TV, Oxygen TV from. But we will. The goal is to have our members only screening. If you guys sign up for the members section, Patreon supporters, you get access to that, and you will be updated there with links and everything for you to access it. All right, cool. That's a little bit of housekeeping. How is everybody doing? Happy holidays, by the way. Happy holidays, happy holidays. Keep something, I don't know, sleigh bells keep ringing. Happy holidays to you. I promise we are going to do some sort of karaoke sing-along, because I don't know if you guys know this. Do you see the guitars in the background? You may or may not know. I went to school for voice. I went to school for music. I am a classically trained singer, hence the reason why I sing that little silly opening on the show all the time. What's going on? What's going on? But we got to sing some karaoke tunes for "'Tis the Holiday Season." Usually my repertoire are things like Bobby Darin, "Somewhere Beyond the Sea, She's There Watching for Me. My lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing." I see the numbers dropping off. People are like, "We do not want to hear your karaoke call here. We want to hear you talk about this CEO assassination," which we'll get into in a second. All right. So back to that. There's a little bit of housekeeping. We will do, like I said, we'll do karaoke holiday sing along here in the next few days, probably. So pick out your songs that you want me to karaoke and sing, and I'll sing them. Super stickers are appreciated. That helps support the show, helps support the channel. And we have, by the way, we have our Venmo is active now. You can support us via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. The links to all that stuff is in the show notes of today's episode as well in the description. Or you can use our, if you would like to shop and support, you can use our Amazon Associates link, which is amazon.com/shop/Call Your Landry. We get a commission, a very small commission from your purchases. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps support the show. File that when you're doing your Amazon shopping. We get a small little commission. It helps do things like buy doggy treats for Marisol. Speaking of, there is wish list items as well on listed in the description of the show as well. Okay. Back to what the task at hand is. Okay, so this is, and support me. If you absolutely, Joan Beckler, you support me on Amazon. It's super simple. It costs you nothing to use my link to just shop. It's very, very helpful. Last Christmas, wham. Okay, I got it, Spinster. Last Christmas. And Cat Loves Catskill says, I volunteered last night at the Mahaffey, the band America. It was a great concert. That's awesome. Mahaffey, the band America. At the Mahaffey, the band, as in the band America, as in the band America, as in Ventura Highway. I can't remember the lyrics to that. Ventura Highway. I don't know. Is that what you're talking about, Cat Loves Catskills? The band America. I should learn how to play that on guitar. That's a great little riff, by the way. Anyways, the ADD is strong with this one today. Anyways, so this article comes across. This is, as I said, from New York Magazine. Not exactly the yes, and they're running around with a horse with no name. Yep, exactly. That is America. Yes. So this article from New York Magazine, again, not exactly the bastion of journalism, but really good think pieces, I think. At least that's just me. This came down. This is by Sarah Jones. It says, the shooting that was inevitable. Our political system is breaking down, and now it has killed. Now, again, this is a little hyperbolic, but it does. This whole situation with this CEO assassination. I remember I heard it on Wednesday morning. I thought, like, what is happening? And this is, again, you see a lot of, obviously there's a lot of political polarization in this country. We've discussed this before during the election, both before and after the election. But it seems like the case for rhetoric and one-upsmanship with certain groups of people is getting a little out of hand. And we see this a lot in anything, really. We talked, essentially this year so far as, discussing the Karen Reed trial and situations that went on with that, and the polarization of that community, the sort of outliers that kind of came in and got themselves involved in that. In those scenarios and weighing in, and outliers like myself, I'm not from that area, and I commented on it, but there was a lot of people that were very vitriolic and angry on both sides of that case. And so I think we're in this very heightened state of, I don't know, vigilantism, if you will. Anyways, Brenda Peacock, thank you so much for the super sticker. You are awesome. Your support, it means the world to me. Thank you so much. Okay, so going to get into this. Going to turn this fan on. My jacket is making me hot, guys. Article in Intelligencer from New York Magazine. The shooting that was inevitable. I guess I could put it up on the screen for you guys too. We can share, right? We can share this. There we go. Except we're not going to make it take up the whole screen. Come on, brother. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. The shooting that was inevitable. By the way, it has been officially a year since I got my LASIK surgery. Well, not quite a year. Almost a year since I got my LASIK surgery. I'm noticing a slight, ever so slight, just the small fine print. I can still read it pretty good. Never mind. The other day I had a moment. I thought it was my vision. I'm paranoid my vision would go away after getting the LASIK. Oh, it might not work for the whole time. But it's still good. I'm happy to report we're still on track with the LASIK. I'm very excited. I'm very excited by it. So, the shooting that was inevitable. Our political system is breaking down. Now it has killed, by Sarah Jones from New York Magazine, Intelligencer. Christopher McNaughton. I'll show you the cool little cover art there too, which is just wild. Christopher McNaughton needed care for his ulcerative colitis, which had already caused him to develop arthritis, diarrhea, fatigue, and blood clots that could kill him. The disease was one problem. His insurance company, United Healthcare, soon proved to be another. As ProPublica reported in 2023, medical bills cost McNaughton nearly $2 million a year, and United Healthcare had flagged his case for review as a, quote, high-dollar account. In one recorded phone call, a nurse for United told a colleague that a doctor under contract with the company had concluded that a drug cocktail that had, quote, had brought McNaughton's disease under control was not medically necessary. Quote, he said, I knew that was coming, said the colleague with a laugh, later complaining that McNaughton's mother was, quote, throwing tantrums in calls with United. Had McNaughton's family not responded with a lawsuit, we might not know the extent of United Healthcare's obstinance. His case is unusual in only one respect. He fought back. As ProPublica noted at the time, insurers reject about 1 in 7 claims for treatment, but according to one study, Americans appeal only 0.1% of the findings. Millions of people know what it's like for an insurance company to deny care. Millions of people have reason to be angry, even furious, with the insurers who control so much of their lives. The killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson ripped the wound open. To some, the anonymous shooter is more folk hero than murderer. So I'm going to stop right here at this particular juncture because, by the way, thank you so much, Lindsay Bay, for the super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to be your magnificent light. Yes. So I'm going to stop this right here. That last sentence is so poignant to me. To some, the anonymous shooter is more folk hero than murderer. And this is really where I this is really where I begin to draw the line of like, okay, where are we with all of this? This is a man who was murdered in broad day, 50 years young, like a young guy, murdered in broad daylight. And then you have, on the flip side, you have people who are almost celebrating this. And this is something that I brought up, and not to get into politics, this isn't really politics, to be honest with you, but when the Trump assassination happened, or the assassination attempt of Donald Trump back in, August, at the rally in Pennsylvania, I had friends of mine, very liberal, Democratic friends of mine, long-term friends of mine. I'm very middle down the road, if you guys don't know that. I work in Hollywood. I've been around both sides of the coin. But very liberal friends of mine who said, God, too bad they missed. And I was taken so aback, and I said, are you absolutely out of your mind? And they said, well, yeah, I mean, I hate Trump. And I said, do you understand what something like this does to the United States if a presidential candidate is assassinated? Like, this is the thing that keeps us, at least in my opinion, in America, keeps us in this, quote, civilized world, right? That we have some sort of, we have a sense of decorum and due process and understanding and compassion and a level of civility, if you will, that puts us above these types of things. That there isn't vigilantism. This isn't the Wild West. This is a country where we adhere to, hopefully, the laws. You know, side note, I went to Walgreens on Friday night. The Walgreens, or sorry, not Walgreens, Rite Aid, right around the corner from my house, right around the corner here in Santa Monica. And I walked in and I was looking for something that's normally behind glass, and I couldn't find it. And I was walking through and the shelves were empty, like going back towards the pharmacy. And I walk up to the pharmacy desk and I say, and as I'm walking up, I can hear him talking about how, starting in 2025, the voters in California and in Los Angeles specifically as well, Los Angeles County, have voted to, there's a lot of, I'm sure this was nationwide news, but they had essentially said that anything below $1,000 they're not going to prosecute for shoplifting. In fact, they're like, don't even arrest the people, just let them walk out with the stuff. This started during the pandemic. It's been a big problem because when you go to these places, they don't have stuff on the shelf. And again, I don't mean to sit here and pontificate. And as I always say, for the record, I am not a lawyer. I am not a psychologist. I do not work in law enforcement. I am just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. When I see these things, I'm like, okay, there is something wrong with this. So we have this situation, and the pharmacist is complaining to me. He goes, "Yo, yeah, 2 women came last night and cleaned us out, and we just let them walk out because there's nothing we can do about it for another month." And then he's like, then they'll be arrested because it doesn't matter if it's over a certain amount, you know. And we've seen local malls be terrorized here at Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, the Topanga Mall, which is a really big and nice mall, might even be nicer than any mall in the city, has really high-end stores and boutiques, and got, you know, last year just a mob of people came in and just robbed a Nordstrom's and stuff, and people just stand there going, what the hell? This feels like the same sort of thing. It's just like this, you're taking the law into one's hands. And again, what delineates us, is that the right word? Or the line of demarcation between civilized society, uncivilized society. Law-abiding citizens taking the law into your own hands. It's a really terrifying prospect. So I think that's why I think this article is so poignant. Again, to some, the anonymous shooter is more folk hero than murderer. The guy's a murderer. As one popular post on X put it, today we mourn the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, gunned down. Wait, I'm sorry. Today we mourn the deaths of the 68,000 Americans who needlessly die each year so that insurance company executives like Brian Thompson can become multimillionaires. One woman who cared for her cancer-stricken mother told New York that she felt, quote, a little surge of schadenfreude at the news of Thompson's death. Though the shooter wrote the words delay, deny, and depose on his shell casings, we still don't know what his exact motivations were. It's obvious, however, that he meant to send a public message, and some appear open to it. Again, this is something that I think is really, really disturbing. And for those of you just joining the program, welcome. We are reading an article from New York Magazine's section, Intelligencer. And this is something that popped up earlier today for me, and I thought I got to talk about this because I wanted to talk about this for a while, but I've seen the stuff on X too. I'm going to try to find the video. Maybe one of y'all can find it and pop it up for me to pull up in the chat or on the show. But they were showing on X like how these masks work. It's absolutely terrifying. Oy vey. Cases like McNaughton's explain the rage so many feel. Sarah Palin once, and I remember this. I remember when she was running for vice president, and she said this. Sarah Palin once warned that the ACA would usher in, quote, death panels across America. What made her so laughable wasn't the fear-mongering. By the way, ACA is America Cares Act, I believe, is what the Obamacare, America Cares Act, I think that's what it's called. The acronym stands for. What made her so laughable wasn't the fear-mongering, but the fact that the death panels were already here. Again, I'll read that again. Sarah Palin warned back in 2008 that Obamacare, essentially, that the ACA would usher in death panels across America. What made her so laughable wasn't the fear mongering, but the fact the death panels were already here. Again, it was already common knowledge that healthcare companies are exploiting people and that these, quote, death panels were already here in the United States. This is a really, really tough thing to read in a magazine about the murder of this healthcare CEO. They are insurance companies. Life has improved since the ACA became law, and Medicaid expansion alone has likely saved many lives. But even the insurance marketplace plans can cost hundreds of dollars a month. Still, according to the Commonwealth Fund, quote, the U.S. has the lowest life expectancy at birth, the highest death rates for avoidable or treatable conditions, and the highest maternal and infant mortality, and among the highest unaliving rates of any high-income nation. In November, ProPublica ran another story about United Healthcare, this time on its, quote, playbook for limiting mental health care coverage. I'm going to read through your Affordable Care Act. Thank you. Accessible Care Act. Affordable Care Act. Thank you so much for correcting me, guys. I appreciate that. The Affordable Care Act. Side note, I just recently got health insurance, or it'll kick in January, but I was staggered at how expensive it is. I'm a grown up. I have health insurance now, or will in 23 days. But I also was I also had to finagle something because I live in California, pay a lot in taxes. Our state taxes are very high here. Our taxes are insane in California. I have a business. Taxes, it's insane here. Since I don't know how I survive every year, but I do somehow. But I was really shocked when I called the insurance company. I was trying to get rates. They said, "Well, you live in California." I said, "Okay, yeah, great. Don't we have we pay for all this stuff here? We've got to have good rates, right?" They were they were double. They were double what I could pay in another state. And because I happen to have another residency address outside of the state of California, I was able to qualify for a premium that was half of what I would pay living in California. So I understand how crazy healthcare is in this country and how insane these insurance companies are. And I have many friends who have been treated for conditions, and some seem to really be very, very fortunate, very, very lucky, and get the right treatment, the right care at the right time, and they somehow slip what I feel like is almost slipping through the cracks in a lot of ways. They don't have any insurance claims denied, and they get healthy, and it's amazing. And then I have other friends who deal with very similar diseases, mostly cancerous, and they just get screwed by the system. And it's I don't get it. I really don't. I know some of you, Cat Loves Catskills here, is probably weighing in the comments because this would be right in her wheelhouse. And we are very fortunate enough to not only have her as a generous participant in our Mover Nation community, but also as a moderator on the channel. She says the insurance companies higher rates in retaliation to the Affordable Care Act. I have a very strong and knowledgeable opinion on this subject. Yeah. And I would love to hear it. Cat Loves Catskills. You want to call in? I'll put the number up. We'll have you talk if you would like to hear it, because this is definitely not my forte. But let me continue with the article, and then we can kind of discuss all that. Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit. In November, ProPublica ran another story about United Healthcare, this time on its, quote, playbook for limiting mental health care coverage. To deny any person care, or to deny a person care is to abandon them. They will suffer, and they may even die a preventable death, but an insurance company will save money, and that's the American way. Hidden within that, quote, lack of sympathy over Thompson's demise is a note of surprise. We are used to a level of unnecessary and unnatural death in this country, a burden typically borne by the poor. The wealthy not only live longer than the poor, they often boast healthier years as they age. That phenomenon isn't unique to the United States, but it's not hard to see why it would persist here, or why few would openly grieve the killing of a healthcare insurance executive. An individual act of violence cannot solve an unjust system, but it is a symptom of social dysfunction that our decision makers ignore at their peril. That system is not only unsustainable, it is already breaking down, and it has killed too. In 1845, the writer Frederick Ingalls accused English society of grave crimes against the working class. Quote, when one individual inflicts bodily injury upon another, such that death results, we call the deed manslaughter. When the assailant knew in advance that the injury would be fatal, we call this deed murder. Ingalls wrote in The Condition of the Working Class in England. When a country deliberately subjects its proletariat, geez, Collier, come on, proletariat, to conditions that result in premature death, quote, its deed is murder just as surely as the deed of the single individual. More specifically, the phenomenon that Ingalls called social murder. The offense can seem natural, he explained, since it is, quote, more of omission than of commission. United Healthcare does not pull a trigger and shoot its victims in the street. Instead, they suffer and may die of cancer or of heart disease or some other treatable condition. Yet insurance companies like it bear some guilt nonetheless. A 2023, this is a staggering thing. A 2023 survey by the American Medical Association found that 9% of physicians blamed poor authorization, the requirement that a health insurance company approve a treatment of prescription for at least one patient's disability or even death. Another ProPublica story documented that the case of Forrest Van Patten, who died from complications of cancer after his insurance company refused to cover a treatment that could have extended his life. In reckoning with the murder of Brian Thompson, we must reckon, too, with its seeming inevitability, with all the choices that brought us here. I'm going to read that last line again. In reckoning with the murder of Brian Thompson, we must reckon, too, with its seeming inevitability, with all the choices that brought us here. That's a really poignant statement to say, or to write, or to read, or to discuss on a program just like this, that there is a seeming inevitability that retaliation towards these companies' CEOs is inevitable. I'll say that again. There is a point of which, are we really thinking that it is inevitable that these CEOs could be retaliated against in this way? And I'll tell you something that I think I've been thinking about a lot since I learned about it, a little more about it in the recent weeks. There's the Pacific Garbage Patch, which floats out, I don't know how many thousands of miles off the shore of California, maybe a couple thousand miles, but it is 3 times the size of France. It is floating garbage in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that is sort of congealed together, and they're trying to clean it up with ocean cleanup. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this thing. Some people say it's not worth the paper it's printed on. It does nothing except pollute more, and the other people say, it's doing good. Well, there's garbage that's floating out in the Pacific Ocean, which is absolutely horrific for our environment. It makes me nauseous just thinking about it. There is a recent documentary on Netflix that discusses, it's called Buy Now. And there's been other documentaries that are about retail consumption, and 'tis the season to be thinking about these things. By the way, when you go into Temu and you fill your shopping cart full of, crap that costs, 50 cents that should cost $5, but it's produced en masse via these Chinese companies that sell it to Americans in situations like, and I'm not trying to pontificate on people's spending habits or anything like that, but we are in a very large, very dangerous system or ecosystem of consumption, especially here in the United States. There's also another documentary I recommend you guys checking out. It's called The Real Cost, which is about fast fashion. Again, talking about like companies like H&M and stuff that, don't make stuff that lasts forever. I've had this jacket, particularly this jacket, for 4 years, and it still looks great. But in all seriousness, there's this overconsumption. So my point in saying all this is that when you think about how how these things have polluted the environment, right? So are we going to start having corporate retaliation? I have a friend of mine who works for the Port of New Orleans. Family as an import-export business. And he was telling me, we were talking on the phone, I don't know, like a few months ago, and he was telling me, he was talking about plastic and how, because there's obviously these ginormous cargo freighters and drilling freighters come in, and they have these 80-foot long plastic stanchions that basically are fit together, and they go all the way down to the ocean floor so they can drill for oil, right? And he was just talking about, he's like, Collier, we are so dependent upon oil. You have no idea. And plastic, which is a byproduct of petroleum, And we just get into this whole discussion. I just think there is so much waste that we are putting into the environment. Again, my point is, are we going to see, is it going to be like, what is it, the Weather Underground, where there's going to be corporate retaliation against these people of Exxon, let's say the CEO of ExxonMobil or British Petroleum, or or polluters, who what is the plastic company, or big pharmaceutical corporations? Are we entering a new age of corporate retaliation by individuals? I don't know. That's my sort of aside from all of this. I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but this is something that I think is this is like, if you guys ever want to know the shit that I think about at night before I go to bed, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what's going on in my brain every night. I'm thinking about what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here? And what is this? And what does this look like? And are we going to enter an age where this is, where this type of corporate retaliation is going to start being prominent? And I know that a lot of people, and again, I'm not trying, and in my opinion, this is something that just like completely transcends politics, right? It can be political. We can call this political, but it's really more of something that I think is way more. It just affects civilization, right? And again, when I saw this news come down, I was terrified, because I'm going to try to pull it up here on this. On the Twitter with the guy with the mask, and it changes his face. It changes the color of his skin. It's insane. Apparently, this assassin had that happen. I'll finish the article because I kind of stopped before it was entered. It says, when democratic norms fail and justice feels unattainable, people will reach their limit. Some will file a lawsuit, others will make jokes on social media, and in this country overrun with guns and violence, a few will resort to deadlier means. Thompson's death was preventable, as so many American deaths are. Until our political class concludes that life is more valuable than profit, there will be blood, if not in the streets, then in our hospitals and homes. Something has to give, and soon. I guess I sort of summed it up in my own words. But that is the point. That is from Sarah Jones. That is from New York Magazine, Intelligencer. The article is called "The Shooting That Was Inevitable. Our Political System is Breaking Down, and Now It Has Killed." Good times on the holiday season. Again, I think that this is, it's like, what is the real cost? Profit over people, profit over communities, profit over, again, this is a very, very end stage capitalism, says JR. Could be JR. You have a little logo next to your name. I don't know where you're coming from. At least it shows that in StreamYard. All right. Let me see here. Federal Reserve Wolf Legend says, I got CV last summer and went to the ER, $5,000 for 3 bags of saline drip and 10 or so blood tubes taken. That was it. I couldn't afford the meds they prescribed, so I skipped. That's terrible. Cat loves Catskills. I'm sure you have weighed in on a lot of this. During Obama, Brendan Peacock says, during Obama, my health insurance was $1,700 a month. That's insane. And Gen X to the 7th Power. Welcome. Good to see you. Catherine Billinghurst. Good to see you. Listener, we have 272 people here on the live. That's freaking crazy. All right. Well, I'm down with that. Welcome, everybody, to the Collier Landry Show. Little Marisol is not here tonight. She will be back soon. Is Gringa Latina on here, by the way? Gringa Latina sent some presents for Christmas for Little Marisol, including a bed and a blanket. I have not opened them because Little Marisol is not here, but I will. But shout out to Gringa Latina, who is a YouTube channel member and subscriber, and she sent over some gifts. We appreciate gifts. There is a yawn. There is a link to the wish list in the show notes and description of today's episode. Check it out, guys. There's tons of stuff on there. Mostly it's all for Marisol. There's some stuff for me too, if anybody feels so inclined to buy me anything versus my dog. Just kidding. I love it when you guys get Marisol stuff. Love when little Marisol gets stuff. Affordable Care Act. Yeah, I've got that now. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't think of that. America Cares Act, Affordable Care Act. Oi, Collier. Oy vey. So on that note, very poignant article from, as I said, from New York Magazine. I want to get into the latest of the coverage that has been coming in about this case because, again, and I don't really like to cover true crime. I told you guys this before, but this type of stuff, I think this is more about society and culture, which is way more what I'm interested in. There's also a live briefing from New York City Police Department, but I don't think we need to watch that. Let's put a poll up, everyone. I think that's what we need first. Do you think healthcare is doomed in the USA? We'll start that little poll. I'm using the word doomed. I don't know if that's necessarily what I want to say, but I'm going to pull up here. I'm going to pull up. Now, this is another article. So this is an update from Friday night where they found a backpack in Central Park believed to belong to the suspect. We'll pull this up here. In 1 second. There we go. Great. All right, StreamYard. We got to default to the smaller size. There we go. Okay. Let's see if we can play this little video first. Of course, I got to get to the actual.
Take advantage of everything AARP has.
Don't want to play that. We don't want to hear the AARP commercials, guys. I'm going to put a little music that underlays this. Just because sometimes it helps to avoid little copyright issues on YouTube. All right, let's see here.
There's surveillance video of the shooting itself with the alleged gunman wearing a mask. Newly released video of what appears to be the man fitting the description of the suspect, walking in the area of the killing on Wednesday morning. Video of what could be the suspect on an e-bike on the west side of Manhattan. New photos of a so-called person of interest wearing a hooded jacket but no mask, which CNN has geolocated to a Manhattan hostel where police believe the suspect may have stayed. Crucial images, which are among the many resources being used by the NYPD to catch the suspect in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
NYPD and the FBI have a great ability to pull together video surveillance and piece it together moment by moment by moment and follow somebody through any camera available. And
you got to think about this too. Like, New York City is one of the most surveilled cities in the entire world. The entire world. I mean, what happened there 24 years ago? 9/11, or almost 23 years ago. Never forget. So this is a city which is surveilled everywhere. You can't go anywhere in New York without being on camera. So I'm even staggered in a lot of ways why they haven't even found this guy yet. Because to me, I mean, and that's again a very terrifying thing. Especially you talk about wearing the mask. If you can't catch him there, I mean, oh man, I mean, again, a very brazen attack. All of it, every last bit of it is disturbing. from soup to nuts. Every last bit of it is disturbing to me. So I just, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about this. Anyways, let's get back to the video.
That's what the goal is first, is from the incident, every moment after that, every moment before that, can we see this individual?
CNN is told there's facial recognition technology being used. The NYPD's Joint Operations Center is being utilized to deploy field teams and analyze the video coming in. Law enforcement experts tell us another resource police have will help them trace and possibly match the bullet shell casings left at the scene. A shell and a live round with the words delay and depose written on them, reflecting popular phrases in the insurance industry. To analyze the shells, experts say they'll use the ATF's NIBIN system. NIBIN standing for National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, which helps them match shell casings with other crime scenes. There are other physical resources to analyze DNA from a phone and a bottle of water, which may have been dropped by the suspect.
That can possibly hold physical evidence, including fingerprints, but also pieces of hair or something else that would disclose who this person might be.
There's video of the suspect just minutes before the shooting, buying water and energy bars at a Starbucks, providing the police with human assets and other resources.
How did he make that purchase? Who saw him? Who interacted with him? And what did he do electronically that might have paid?
Wait a minute. Hold on. He was stopped at a Starbucks and bought snacks? Sorry. He stopped at a Starbucks and bought snacks? And they haven't caught this guy yet? Okay, first of all, why are you buying snacks? Should have had your snacks packed. Unbelievable. If they don't catch this guy, I don't know how. You got him on video at a Starbucks and you can't find him? This is insane to me. Insane.
Paid for those if he paid cash.
Witnesses at the hostel where the gunman may have stepped and other resources.
Up here
how to disclose who this person might be.
There's video of the suspect just minutes before the shooting, buying water and energy bars at a Starbucks, providing the police with human assets and other resources.
How did he make that purchase? Who saw him? Who interacted with him? And what did he do electronically that might have paid for those if he paid cash?
Witnesses at the hostel where the gunman may have stayed could be a critical resource.
But also at the hostel, who interacted with him? What did he sound like? Did he have an accent? Did he sound like he was from the Midwest or from the East Coast?
Another important resource tonight, police going back in time to Thompson's recent background.
So what was happening in Brian Thompson's world in terms of the threats that we're hearing about, things that the company was worried about, statements made by his widow now about the threats that he was facing.
Wow. Just absolutely wow. Stopped at a Starbucks. That to me is probably the most staggering thing. Stopped at a Starbucks to check this stuff out. Who knows? Let me see if I can make this camera brighter, guys. Ugh, is that better? That's a little better. Look at how dark the screen is. Welcome, 436 people today. Fabuloso. Welcome to Mover Nation, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Showing up to the live. We haven't had this many people on the live in a minute, so I'm very appreciative. Thank you so much. Anyways, back to this article from CNN. Again, this update is now talking about what they found. So there is a backpack. Again, backpack found in Central Park, believed to belong to suspect in killing of United Healthcare CEO. Source says. Can we close this out? I don't want to see that. NYPD investigators found a backpack in Central Park they believe belonged to the suspect in the killing of United Healthcare's chief executive, a law enforcement official told CNN. Investigators have yet to officially confirm the origin of the bag and are taking it to be forensically tested in a lab in Queens, the source said. Detectives earlier Friday said they have quote, reason to believe the person responsible for the shooting has left New York City, according to Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. With the search for the shooter suspected of killing Brian Thompson now in its third day, the widespread manhunt is expanding, and officials implore the public beyond the city's borders to help them identify the suspect by taking a closer look at the unmasked man in the surveillance images released Thursday. Tish and Joseph Kenny, NYPD's chief of detectives, sat down with CNN's Shimon Procupez to discuss the expanding investigation Friday. Here's what else we've learned. Police consider smiling photo of the suspect to be the quote money shot that may help identify him. I mean, I would say that's a pretty solid photo there. Police have obtained video of the suspect entering the Port Authority bus station but not exiting it, indicating he left town. Authorities believe the suspect may have left New York City on an interstate bus. Key evidence, including the bike the suspect rode and the gun used in the killing, is still missing. The backpack was found in a second sweep of the park on Friday evening between some boulders just south of the park's carousel, according to a source. Maybe they should have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. come and help them search Central Park. Just saying. Just a total aside. Police in the area of Central Park where the backpack was discovered secured the area, bagged the evidence, and sent it unopened to the lab, the law enforcement official told CNN. It will not be open until it reaches the lab. An NYPD spokesperson confirmed to CNN a backpack was found in the park, but said it, quote, still has to be processed. Investigators are treating the discovery like a dead body, being very careful not to damage any potential evidence, a law enforcement official told CNN. The backpack, along with any physical material surrounding it, was removed by an excavator, the source said. No officers picked it up because there may be some DNA evidence tied to the backpack or even the dirt on the ground surrounding the backpack. Investigators say the person they believe responsible for the killing is, quote, definitely planned this out. I mean, obviously, wrote depose and deny on the shell casings. Come on, yeah, of course he planned it out. Good police work here, guys. NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny told CNN's Shimon, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name and butcher it again, on Friday that the person of interest arrived in New York City ahead of the killing. According to Kenny, there's video of the suspect about 30 minutes before showing him, quote, walking and wandering the hotel area before he committed this act, he said. He knew what time the victim was going to be walking by. He knew what hotel this conference was going to be in, etc. So Kenny said, investigators have so far recovered DNA from the items found at the scene and turned it over to a lab for testing, according to senior law enforcement official briefed on the investigation. Samples sent for testing are from a water bottle, which police believe a killer purchased and may have sipped from shortly before killing Thompson, and from a cell phone found at the scene. It may contain touch or skin cell DNA, the official said. NYPD investigators finished processing the items and turned the samples over to the office of the chief medical examiner for testing on Friday, the official told CNN. Again, I don't know. They have this video. They have this photograph here of him. Well, let me pull this actually back up. I would imagine that they've got to be close, right? Can we just do a Google image search and see if we can find this person? Cat Loves Catskills, thank you so much for the super chat. Brendan Peacock, welcome, new member. Thank you so much for this as well. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be an inside job, right? I think in a lot of ways, I think that's sort of what everyone's conclusion is, especially if you write on shell casings, you were trying to do this. But you would have to know how all of this went down. You would have to know where he's been at, and it would be interesting to see how this investigation will yield further fruit of what's going on with, is there a connection to Brian Thompson? Did this person know him? Where did he come from? I do love how the woman was like, does he have a Midwestern accent? Do I have a Midwestern accent? Can you guys tell? Because I'm a Midwesterner. I don't think I have a Midwestern accent at all. So forget the Midwestern accent. Let's leave the Midwesterners out of this, guys. But if you figure that if he came into New York to do the deed, left, there's no telling where this guy is. I have a feeling that they will catch him. I don't think that it's. I don't think that that's something. Helen Tudor Douglas, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, somehow that killer knew that his target would walk to the Hilton. Most people get dropped off in front of the Hilton on a busy Avenue of the Americas. I know, I've stayed at that Hilton before. That's very interesting. This was right on Avenue of the Americas, which I know. I've been to Manhattan several times. New York City. Thank you again so much for the super sticker. Your generosity helps keep the program going. Thank you for the super sticker. Yes, listener, I don't have an accent at all. I do say coffee sometimes, and I say water, and I say roof. A lot of people make fun of me for saying roof, like the roof, like the top of the house, the roof. They're like, it's roof. I'm like, no, it's roof. It's the roof. Like a dog, ruff, ruff. Anyways, I digress. Very generous of you. Thank you so much, Helen. I greatly appreciate that. Super sticker is very, very, very kind. Again, I don't know how they don't find this guy, but apparently he's very elusive. You know, they always say the first 48 hours in any investigation are the most key, and we are long past that. That ship sailed on Friday morning at 6 a.m. So I don't know. We'll see. I want to go to X because I want to show you guys these masks that I can't believe I said that. I want to go to X. Why can't we just still call it Twitter? I liked that. Masks. I'm just gonna say healthcare. I don't know enough about Twitter to see if I can find my search history. Let me see here. Oh yeah, here it is. This is crazy. Watch this. This was mind-blowing to me. I want to make this full screen. So this is, oh, I'm not going to make it full screen. Share this tab instead. Yeah, okay, here we go. Make sure y'all can see. Okay, so this is the mask that they are alluding that this guy used. Not the same mask, but this type of thing. This is mind-blowing. Now, this could be AI, who knows, but I think this is real. Look at this. That's absolutely terrifying. That is a mask. I was going to try to see if I could find it on Amazon. I haven't looked. Again, watch this video. Look at this guy who puts on this mask. Look at him. There he is. Obviously a Hispanic gentleman. Almost like a Kanye West mask. This is what I think is so this is what I think is so terrifying. I'm glad I could share that. I'm glad I found that. The Dibster, credit to them on X, Richard Dibx said United Healthcare CEO Killer could have used one of these masks and then it would be very difficult to get caught. Yeah, exactly. This is terrifying. Thank you, Sa, so much for the thank you so much for the super sticker. Sa says he left the phone because it has his manifesto. It could possibly have that. That is a great point. Again, people who sometimes, you know, again, I am not a lawyer. I am not a psychologist. I do not work in law enforcement. I am just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. But as we've seen, people who commit these types of crimes do have some sort of manifesto and do have something they want to show to the world. So that could be why the phone is left. That's a great point you bring up, Sa. And thank you so much for the generous super sticker, super chat. I appreciate it so much. This is something that I think is, V Caser. Yes, that would certainly disguise you on a surveillance camera. Exactly. And I was just thinking, so I spend a lot of time, I live in Santa Monica. Anybody curious, you'll find me. I work out at the gym in Venice. I go down to the Venice boardwalk, the Santa Monica Pier. I'm always like walking or running down there. It's where I do my exercise, right? And I was just thinking about all the people. There's an influx of people. The other day, we have Kazoo or Kazaa or whatever. It's Cirque du Soleil show. And as I was running through, getting my run in, I was then forced to walk. I stopped walking because there was an influx of crowd coming out of the event. There was probably like 1,000 people walking, and there's people up on the pier. This is the day after Thanksgiving, and I was thinking to myself, wow, if you are in these types of crowds, right, with large crowd of people, and then, you know, God forbid you have something, there's a mass casualty event, and you have someone who's wearing this, like, how are you going to identify, if somebody has a mask like this, like we just showed again, I'll pull this up on the screen if you guys want to see this, because it's absolutely terrifying to me that this is something that's accessible. Again, I started thinking earlier today about Face Off with Nick Cage, and this is a printed screen. The guy looks like Kanye West. He gets from Latina guy to kind of looks like Kanye West. If you threw one of these masks on and committed a crime, you're not going to get seen on surveillance footage. You're not going to find. I mean, I wouldn't imagine, unless you track certain things down. How are you going to find somebody? How are you going to find somebody that looks like this? Again, that's what he looks like. That's what this guy looks like. That's what he looks like after he puts the mask on. It's wild to me. So, I mean, if that guy came up, how would you identify him? Oh, it was an African-American guy. It was a black guy that came up and assaulted me. You know, you could screen print someone else's face on those masks. Friend, colleague, famous person. This guy looks a little bit like Kanye West to me. And commit a crime. And then forget about it. This type of stuff is just, I mean, obviously we can tell when we're looking at it, it's a mask, but you imagine on a surveillance camera, a Ring camera on a door, you wouldn't know who it is. I mean, maybe me, if I wore one of these masks, you'd see my piercing blue eyes through it, but probably not. Probably not. Very terrifying indeed. Affordable Anarchy, thank you so much for the super sticker. I want to read your chat. It's amazing it's taking them so long to find the perp. But if someone has a pet squirrel they don't like, they are there in an hour. Amen to that. Yeah, New York authorities were definitely there to police the effort for Peanut the squirrel. But they can't find an assassin. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, they're there in an hour. Again, priorities and whatnot, and just here's another photo. This is what they also believe this is another photo that was just released that they believe is showing the killer as well. The assassin, not would-be assassin, the assassin. Hey, no. And there you have it. Can I zoom in here? Nope. I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't wear sunglasses. And this looks like after the particular event, because it's later in the day, because it was dark when he committed the crime, when he committed the murder. Hey Collier, I know you read that lady's comment about the shooter. No one was going to go walk over, and then I don't know. This is a half comment. Drop a super sticker, guys, if you wanted me to read your chats. If you wouldn't mind, help support the show. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. Again, you can support the show also for free by using our Amazon affiliates link. It's amazon.com/shop/Collier Landry. We get a very small percentage of your purchases. We get to earn a commission on the channel when you purchase anything on Amazon. If you're doing your holiday shopping through Amazon, which pretty much I think everybody on the planet is, please shop support. Costs you nothing, but helps support the show. We also have Cash App. Venmo, and PayPal if you'd like to support. Links for those are also in the description of today's episode as well. Our Amazon wish list, and you can also join our Patreon or the YouTube channel membership here on the channel as well. It also supports this type of programming if you're digging it. Anyways, this is the suspect, they believe, in an Uber or taxi, I guess, or Uber taxi. Or taxi still think I got behind a yellow cab today in Venice. I was driving to see a friend, and I got behind a yellow cab. I haven't seen a yellow cab in forever. And back in the day, we used to take Beverly Hills Taxi was the thing we used to take before Uber existed. Beverly Hills Taxi, red, white, and blue taxis all around LA. Anyways, very cool. Very, very cool. And you can also get, as Nightbot would like to point out, you can get your official Call Your Landry merch. We got to update this, guys. We have new stuff in the store, by the way. We have new Marisol stickers, t-shirts, mugs, all kinds of stuff. There's new designs coming out. Always official Call Your Landry podcast mugs, Marisol, Professor Marisol mugs. Great stuff for you guys. I know a lot of you bought that stuff. Karen Fan, by the way, for those of you who are moderators on this channel, Karen is taking sizes and information down for y'all because I have Christmas gifts for you. Yes, I do. For all of our moderators, get at Karen Fan, get her some addresses, get her some sizes. We have some things for you guys to say thank you. 'Tis the season. Thank you so much for being wonderful supporters of this channel by donating your time and being super cool. I greatly appreciate it. You have no idea. Manager at callyourlandry.com. Yes, send your info there, please. Send your info there, please. Woohoo, moderators. Yes, exactly. Woohoo, moderators. The pic is from inside the taxi. He must have had another phone to call a cab, or just hailed one. You're in New York. Hey. Anyways, Mover Nation. Wow, what a story that is unfolding here. Out of New York, man. I'll continue with this article just to sort of finish it out. They were processing. Main priority for investigators is identifying the gunman, officials say, as the NYPD homicide unit works the case. The suspect's image has been sent to every member of the department. The FBI is assisting the NYPD in its investigation, a bureau spokesperson told CNN on Friday. The New York City Police Department's video collection unit is building a trail of surveillance video sightings and canvassing for still images of the assailant's face to load into their facial recognition technology, the official said. A smiling surveillance photo depicting a hooded man, a face mask pushed up around his neck, may be a key clue leading police to the suspect in the fatal shooting. There's a lot. The image released by the New York Police Department shows a man authorities call a person of interest wanting for questioning. He is captured in a flirtatious moment with a female employee at a hostel on New York's Upper West Side, where he had been staying, a law enforcement official told him. Quote, he's been traveling and walking around the streets of New York, largely in a mask with his face covered. We had to go through lots of video evidence to get that one money shot with the mask down. The employee asked the man to lower his face mask, which is when the photos released by authorities on Thursday were captured, the official said. He lowers the mask and gives that big smile. That little flirtation between the two of them in some good-humored way actually yielded what is so far the most significant clue in identifying him. The hostel apologizes for the presence of law enforcement and media in the area on a flyer posted outside the building on Thursday night, a photo obtained by CNN shows. You may have noticed the presence of law enforcement and media in the area. Local authorities are currently investigating an incident that occurred several miles from this property in Midtown Manhattan on December 4th. The well-being of our guests, volunteers, staff, and all those at our property is our top priority, and our team is cooperating with the authorities who are handling the matter. Thank you for understanding, and we apologize for any inconvenience this may cause you during your stay. Not a big fan of hostels. Actually, I don't think I've ever stayed in a hostel. Yeah, I've never stayed in a hostel, actually. So not a big fan. I don't think I've ever stayed in them. I've tried to stay in hostels, and there was no room at the inn. That's right. I tried to stay at a hostel, in Amsterdam years ago, and just for a couple of nights, and they were like, no, and I ended up getting an Airbnb, and it ended up being a lot cheaper and a lot more fun. Got a whole apartment. It was a huge apartment in Amsterdam. Anyways, I digress. All right, Mover Nation, we get through another one. 6:10, 10 after 6, 10 after 9. Nikki Diley was one of the people who was at the hostel from 23-year-old tourist from New Zealand, checked in the hostel on Tuesday and is traveling with a friend staying in a 4-person room on the 4th floor. He said he never saw the person of interest, adding many people are going in and out of the building all the time. Pretty much this whole thing just seems to be a big just run around. This is the area here where they were canvassing. So there's the New York Hilton in Midtown. Suspect fled through a passageway to 55th Street. Site of the shooting. I mean, I'm surprised he got away. Then got on a bike at 55th Street and headed north on 6th Avenue. The suspect is spotted at a Starbucks before the shooting, which was, well, okay, so there's the Starbucks that they were showing where the suspect, alleged suspect, which to me doesn't look like the same guy. But what do I know? Again, not a lawyer, not a psychologist, don't work in law enforcement, just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. Didn't look like the same guy to me. And the suspect was seen on Center Drive in Central Park. And for those of you that have been to Central Park, it's freaking huge, by the way. It's huge. A lot of places to go in there. But it is surrounded by a city, so you're not getting out easily, that's for sure, if they're looking for you. What a mess. What a mess. As they say here, a needle in a haystack. The suspect could have taken steps after fleeing Central Park to evade detection, like changing into a different set of clothes. McCabe said through Wednesday, police deployed mobile field forces to conduct a grid search, looking through garbage cans, dumpsters, and bushes, and an extensive search for a missing gray backpack, which the assailant was seen wearing during the shooting, a senior law enforcement official told CNN. Police initiated the search after detectives reviewed security footage of the suspect no longer wearing the backpack after leaving Central Park through the West 77th Street exit. Wow. We will keep you posted on all these developments. Mover Nation, keep you posted on all these developments regarding this shooting, regarding what's going on with all of this, because it's obviously extremely tragic, but also very very new and noteworthy and newsworthy. And we will keep you guys posted and abreast of anything as developments happen in this case. Mover Nation, we get through another one. I want to say thank you so much to all my channel members, channel supporters, all you guys. I'll say that on the outro as well. But look, this is a serious thing, but cooler heads will prevail. Justice will be served. Again, lots of things to think about in this particular case, because on the flip side, you have, as the article in New York Magazine points out, the one side, the very negative side of the healthcare industry, which is now being brought to the forefront. And that would be my takeaway with all of this, is perhaps something like this. There's always good that comes out of tragedies, in my particular opinion. As someone who's been through a horrific tragedy in their life, there's always something that's good that can be drawn from this. And maybe, just maybe, something like this can help to open up a dialogue where we actually affect real change in our society, where we actually affect real change that might usher in a whole new era of healthcare, of understanding of the healthcare system, of a reconciliation for the public, of a reconciliation of corporate greed that is running rampant and is putting people's lives in jeopardy, and is therefore putting executives in jeopardy. I guarantee things like this happen. There's going to be some change that occurs. At least I hope so. At least I hope that's the upside to all of this. Again, it's horrific. A man lost his life. Families torn apart, a country, a city. There's a manhunt. This guy has put his life in jeopardy. what have you. There's a lot of elements to this. Whatever side of the aisle you sit on, I think we can all agree that taking the life of someone is not ethical. Also, I think we can agree that corporate greed trumping the healthcare and the benefits of the population, which is designed so to serve, is also horrific. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep an open mind, an open heart. It is the holidays, Mover Nation. Please just enjoy your families. I thank you all so much for being here. On that note, here's the outro. Mover Nation, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all my channel members and Patreon supporters. And for more exclusive content, behind the scenes videos, monthly VIP meet and greets, and watch parties, please consider supporting me on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube channel member. If you like this video, check out this one right here or this one right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps with the algorithm. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. I'll see you on the next one. Good girl, Marisol. Good girl.